Yeah. Wake up with coffee and sports. Sunrise glow, listen coast to coast. A flow like you know.
Offensively, who made them? Oh, Patrick Mahomes.
Sideline to sideline with plays to show. This network's got the spark.
When you put up 300 yards rushing against someone, that you got your butt whooped.
I feel like I would have liked to see Oregon, Ohio State in the semis, not the quarters. So I think some reseeding is probably where I would change. But
they're out of their mind. They're going to do this 3 quarterbacks in a row.
Here's the crazy.
I just can't take it.
First deep flying high, fans cheering loud, and one podcast moving through the crowd. Meaty boys brawling, no holds barred bout. This wire life never in doubt. Tune into the vibe.
That's my bold prediction for the show. Devin Booker, in the next 3 years, he will be a Houston Rocket.
Because I still think Seth is still at the top of his game. I do. I think he's right there. Who knows? Maybe. Not this year, but one time soon. Why wouldn't we potentially see Seth and Roman?
Tune in the vibe. Warrior Reds, good setters. Got me on the mic, now let's spill the tea. Talking courtside dreams from history. Legends on the blacktop now and then. From Will to Steph, we hit it again. Better chimes in, let's go deep. Young bloods rising, can't skip a beat. Puppy prospects with fire in their eyes. Draft night suckers and hoop dream high. Wire to wire, bring the heat. Podcast magic can't be beat. Do better, we're more better. We're hoop heads, trendsetters.
What's poppin', y'all? It is your boy, Guard E3, and welcome to the And One podcast, where, of course, it's playoff time. We did a watch along last week. This week, we're just going to be catching up on all the playoff games. But, of course, joining me, just like every week, he is the greatest co-host of all time. He is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing blessed on a Thursday night, getting ready to talk NBA playoff basketball.
Absolutely. You know how it is, Mo, though. We gotta start off with underrated player of the week. So, Mo, who do you got this week for underrated player of the week?
This player might be underrated player of the month. We were just talking about him. He's been a good, solid pro for 12 years or more. And the Detroit Pistons, we know, are offensively striped in terms of what they can do and how much they depend on Cade Cunningham. They asked Tobias Harris to be a bigger part of the offense. They said, step up. And he's answered the call at an amazing level. Tobias Harris didn't have back-to-back 20-point games in the entire regular season. He has 6 such games and counting right now in the postseason. That is stepping up. That is overachieving. My underrated guy this week, Tobias Harris.
I feel like Tobias Harris gets such a bad rep for a lot of things that he had no control over. Like, people obviously still quote the whole Jimmy Butler over me and throw that at Tobias. And even though I'm like, dude, they're like, what do you want Tobias to do about that? Like, no, don't pay me. Give that money to Jimmy. Like, of course he's not going to do that.
Right.
Like, it just feels like there's a lot of hate about Tobias. Not necessarily what he's done for things that he just really doesn't do. And it's always been a little bit weird to me that, hey, I get Philly fans being upset with him for that Game 7 1-point performance that he had. But overall, the Tobias hate has always been kind of odd. It's just like the NBA Kirk Cousins. It is what it is. He makes a lot of money for being a really good player, even though he's not a superstar. You got to love it.
I think that's what it is. People look at the contracts and look, don't blame Tobias Harris, blame his agent. He obviously has one of the best agents in all of sports because he's had multiple max contracts. And I'm not saying that to say that he's not a good basketball player. You just pointed it out. He's a very good basketball player. but he's never been a great player. He's never been a superstar, not even an all-star. He's just been a good basketball player. And I think that's there's nothing wrong with that. I think Philly fans raged because they knew he was good, but they felt like we're paying him like he's an all-star or a superstar, which at the time I would agree. But I'm going to judge him on the fact that he's actually had a really good career. I know that he hasn't had a lot of shine in the postseason, but he was a steadying force for this Pistons the last 2 seasons. He's been a great presence in the bench, in the locker room, and when they needed him to, talking about right now during this run, when they knew we need another guy that can give us 18 to 20 a night, because Jalen Duren, I want to remind people, is still 22 years old. He's not a finished product, and he's still not the most polished offensive player. Tobias Harris has stepped up. To my surprise, not that I don't think he's a good player, but if you told me ahead of time, Mo, you can book it, Tobias Harris is going to average about 20 points a game throughout the playoffs, I would have told you the Pistons are going to have no problem getting to the conference finals.
You know what's funny? I had another Piston in mind for this exercise. So you know what, Mo? I'm going to give out 2 because I don't want to just double dip on the Pistons. Because we obviously Cade gets all the love. Obviously, we were just talking about Tobias, Jalen Duren. How about the job that Denise Jenkins has done for that team to shore up the guard position?
That's a great one.
Even in this game, for example, he knocked down a massive shot to go up 4 just before the start of the 4th. Overall, he's just giving you impact that you would absolutely expect from a seasoned vet. And that's kind of what Denise Jenkins has been for this team. So my one underrated play, my NBA underrated for the player of the week is going to be Denise Jenkins of the Detroit Pistons.
I like that.
And I just want to give a quick shout out to somebody in the W too, Mo. Because obviously the W starts soon, aka tomorrow. And look, I got an underrated talent, obviously on the Lynx. Everybody wants to talk about Nafisa Collier. They just got Olivia Miles. But hey, shout out to Courtney Williams. Absolutely terrific for him last year going into her age 32 season. I think she's going to be a massive piece again for this Lynx team, especially as Miles develops. So overall, she knocked down 39% of her threes last year. She's been a great shooter. Overall, I think Olivia Miles is going to get a lot of hype, but I think Courtney Williams will just be absolutely massive in letting her develop. If she can give him one more full solid year, absolutely greatest thing ever for him. I think Miles will be fully ready next year and maybe even this year. But let's say I'm excited to see how that guard rotation shakes out. But I do think Courtney Williams is getting overshadowed a bit.
I'm really excited about this upcoming season in the W. For some of the things you just said, obviously I'm interested in seeing what Paige Buckets along with Aziz are going to be able to do in Dallas. Obviously excited to see the defending champions and what they're going to do. There are so many talented players. I'm so excited. I want to see what the Fever can do, fully healthy, everybody back. I can't wait. This is going to be a great year for the W.
Hey, and you know what? Maybe we say, hey, and you know what? When teams get bounced out of the playoffs, we can give them the real treatment and start trying to trade all their star players. Just like we're doing with the Boston Celtics for the 10th year in a row, it feels like. I know they haven't been playing for 10 years. Actually, I think next year will be 10 years for Tatum. He was, 2017 draft?
Ooh. He is now, I believe Tatum's 27. He's 27 years old.
Whew. Man, it makes you feel old at that point. I remember when he just got drafted and was taken to LeBron at 7 in his rookie year.
I just remember that we didn't draft him and how disappointed and how much I complained all year long. But yeah.
I remember being upset for you guys too, but honestly, I was really it's probably doesn't come off any better. I was just a big Josh Jackson guy.
Oh God, look, you're not alone on that one. I went out on that hill too. I was a huge Tatum guy, but I thought Josh Jackson was going to have almost a Paul George like. I don't know. I just thought he was going to be so much better than he ended up being.
I thought Josh Jackson had the potential to be like an Iggy type player, just somebody who could be like really versatile and well rounded.
Yeah. You know what? That's a better comparison. I thought he was going to be like Iggy. I thought he was going to average like 17, 18 points, 7 rebounds, 7 assists, be an elite defender. I really thought I thought Josh Jackson was going to be like what people thought Ben Simmons was going to be, but I thought he was going to be a better version of it, and it just didn't happen.
No, absolutely. So yeah, I'd say that's like I was disappointed at the time that you guys didn't draft him, but honestly, my pick would have been worse, possibly. So
Let me ask you this. When you look at the Celtics, and we know that both Tatum and Brown are under those $300 million contracts, right?
Yeah.
I guess the question I would ask you is when you have two guys making that much money, taking that much of your salary cap up, how do you make improvements? Because you start off in the red just because of their contracts. I guess what I'm trying to say is outside of a trade, how do you improve the roster around them? Like, I guess my problem with the Celtics would be this. And by the way, I'm not embarrassed to say that I thought the Celtics were going to go to the conference finals. That did not happen, obviously. But 2 years in a row, Brett, this particular style of play that they play where 60% of their offense comes from behind the arc, it has failed them. They lost in the second round last year. They lost in the first round this year, blowing a 3-1 lead. I am not saying I'm one of those people that want Brown and Tatum to split up. I am saying I'm one of those people that look at Boston and go, yes, you absolutely. If you have bookend forwards that can do what they can do on both ends of the floor, I do want to keep them together. But I think they need to balance their offense out. I think they need a post presence to balance out what they do in terms of always shooting threes. It's nice to have someone you can throw the ball to, even if they get you 16 or 18 points to keep the defense offense or honest in the restricted area. Like I thought Keita had a really good year, a terrific year for him, but he got exposed in the Sixers series because they did go to Embiid. And as much as I like Keita, there's no question nobody thought he could guard Embiid or slow him down, which he couldn't. And he can't make Embiid work so Embiid could rest. I don't think the Tatum Brown partnership wins another title if they're going to continue to play the style that they've played the last 3 years. I know they won a title like that once, but when they won it, they also had Holiday, they also had Porzingis, they also had Al Horford. Because of the contracts they have, they had to get rid of some of those high-priced veterans, which they did. I guess my question is real simple. Is it more likely that they continue on with the Brown and Tatum partnership? Or at some point does Brad Stevens go, I can't afford to keep you both because of how much of the cap they both take up together collectively? Like, look at every other team. Is there another team in the NBA with two guys making $300 million? There is not, for a reason. Because when you do that, how do you improve your roster? Because the Celtics, they're too good to have a high draft pick. You know what I'm saying? Outside of a trade, and if you're going to trade, well, what do you have of value? You got Jason Tatum, you got Jaylen Brown. I love Derek White, but Derek White, he had a tough time shooting this year, and it hurt him, his offense, because his perimeter shot failed him. And look, Derek White, I think is a valuable piece, but I don't know what he would garner in a trade. Let me just ask you this. Do you think they keep the current roster as is and just run it back? Or do they recognize their weaknesses because they are a small team? And a lot of people don't realize this about the Celtics. I'm sure Kyle knows this. I know you know this. They're traditionally a small team anyway because they don't play with a real power forward. They play Tatum at power forward, and we all know he's not actually a power forward. So they start off small anyway. Do you think they stand pat, or do they make a significant move?
I think they mix around their supporting cast around the edges, but unless they want to go all out. So here's the thing, like the weird part about Jaylen Brown, because if you're trading one or the other, it's not going to be Tatum, it's going to be Brown. The challenge is like he's in this awkward spot where it's really tough to upgrade from him in the sense that you also have to make the contracts and the salaries work.
Right.
And anybody you can upgrade him with is pretty much unavailable at this point. So they're just kind of in an awkward spot where I don't think they'll make any moves to move off of him this year. I think maybe next year it might be a different conversation, but I think this year they have 3 seconds, they have a first, I believe, they have a really big exception from like the Porzingis trade they could use to take somebody in. I think this is an offseason where they'll realize that they can improve around the margins. But in terms of like a big like core shattering trade, I don't think so, unless if they make a swing for Giannis, if they're including Jaylen Brown.
And of course, you're a Bucks fan. You've heard all 790,000 Giannis trades. Obviously, the most recent one is the rumors about maybe the Celtics would consider moving Jaylen Brown, and I find it interesting. Like I said, if when you have that kind of talent in house and they developed under your franchise, I'm not in a rush to break them up. I hope I don't sound like I am because I'm not. But when it happens 2 years in a row, it's not a fluke. It's a pattern. And I think Joe Mazzulla and Brad Stevens have to look at their roster and realize, yeah, it's not like you can go out and get an Embiid. I'm not, there's not 5 or 6 centers that can score like that anyway in the league. Most centers in today's NBA are rim runners or specialists. There's really only like 3 or 4 centers in the league that you can say, go get me 20 points. It's a very small group, and I don't think any of them are available. I don't think the Celtics need a 20-plus point, 20 per game big, but I do think they need an athletic big that can impact the game. They had a guy on their team a few years ago before he got injured. He's in Portland now, Robert Williams, who was a great athlete and a great rim protector and a rim runner. I think if they got a dynamic athlete like that at the center spot, I think that alone would impact them a great deal on both ends of the floor.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they probably should look to add more size. I definitely don't think they should explore bringing back Vucevic, though. He wasn't very good for them, and I think he's
didn't do
straight
anything,
up on
did
the
he?
decline. No.
Yeah.
He didn't do anything except get targeted on defense. I think.
Yeah. I was disappointed in Vooch. I thought Vooch in a role playing role would star in that role. And you're right. He was like one of the main people that the Sixers attacked routinely. So, and look, I get it. Joe Mazzulla loves having a pick and pop big, a guy that can shoot the three. But they've had that the last 2 years, and they just haven't done anything in the postseason. You got to try something different. Get the dynamic athlete. If you're looking for someone who's a great rim runner, who still, I think he's 25, 26, won't cost you an arm and leg, make a phone call to Brooklyn and see about Claxton.
I would say I think Claxton's contract would fit right into that trade exception that they have, because I think Porzingis was making like 27, 30 million a year.
Right.
No, I heard that one of the rumors that I heard, which is an interesting one, that if the Celtics do trade for Giannis, they'll also use their trade exception to take in Miles Turner as well. So,
wow,
that would be something. That's for sure. I don't even know what Bucks team I'd be watching next year, but you know what? Honestly, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun watching your team with no expectations. So
would
why
you?
not?
Let me ask you. You're a Bucks fan. You're going to hear 1,000 different Giannis trade rumors. You've already heard 1,000. But would Jaylen Brown and some kind of package that highlighted Jaylen Brown be something that would remotely interest you?
No, not really. Here's the thing about JB. I like Jaylen Brown. I don't think you're doing anything. Hey, what's good, Kyle? Says, thank you, Mo. Sensible roster update. A guy like Claxton would be nice. But no, so here's the thing about Jaylen Brown, and this is kind of something that I showed, I told Kyle. I just don't think Jaylen Brown, like as the number one guy, can get you through a playoff series. And it feels like you going through Jaylen Brown number one option hoops is a good way to just tread water for the next 5 years. My thing with Jaylen Brown is he needs somebody to set him up. He's a play finisher. He needs to play with somebody who's going to really make his teammates better. I think that's what Tatum does so well that people overlook. Tatum's the guy that's going to swing the rock to teammates. He's going to make sure everybody's involved. He's going to rebound. He's going to do everything while, JB can just kind of focus on scoring. Like I said, he kind of gives me vibes of like that really, really good elite innings eater in baseball where you're like, man, that guy's really good. But in the playoffs, when that time comes, you're like, but that's not really going to be enough to take us to the next level. That's kind of where I view JB. So unless it's going to be flipping him for more assets, I don't think I'd be too interested in him because I just think JB by himself just kind of locks us into purgatory.
I'm a big Jaylen Brown fan, but I think you brought up an excellent point that one of the reasons that allows him to play the way he plays is because he plays besides Jason Tatum. Their best player, and I think Tatum is their best player. Their best player is he's a willing, not just passer, but he has no problems deferring and letting Jaylen Brown take 21 or 22 shots. Like Jason Tatum is not just a great leader and a star, but he's a great teammate. I think Jaylen Brown, if he's even Jaylen Brown has to realize, like, if I go to Milwaukee for Giannis, I don't know what the Celtics are going to be, but do I really think that I, at age 29, are going to be able to turn the Bucks around in a short enough time that I'll be part of the future? Because it feels like if you get Jaylen Brown at 29, and we both agree, we're not saying he's not an all-star or even an all-NBA player. We're saying we're not sure that he can be the guy that's going to set the tone for a franchise. Even though he had this amazing season that he just had, and he did. And weirdly enough, I thought he was going to have a season that he had. Everything that happened didn't shock me. The only thing that shocked me was how they just came apart in the postseason. I think you're right. I think Jaylen Brown, the grass is not greener on the other side. The best thing Jaylen Brown can do, I think they can offer him actually an extension off of the contract he already has. I think they can offer him an extension in July, and I'm sure they will. That'll tell you a lot. They're going to offer him that extension. I'm assuming he will accept. I don't think Jaylen Brown's leaving Boston. I don't think Jason Tatum's leaving Boston, despite all the rumors. I just think Brad Stevens and his team are going to make he's going to make some improvement on the bench, on the depth. He will go out and get a couple of athletic bigs because their lack of size and athleticism, especially in the paint, clearly hurt them in the postseason. But I would not be looking to break up a dynamic forward duel who've had the success that Brown and Tatum has had. Think about this: 6 conference finals, 2 NBA finals, a title, and they're not 30. Neither one of them are 30 years old.
No, absolutely. Yeah. No, yeah, absolutely. It's one of those things. Like I said, I think JB, and I think he knows it too, which is why in that Twitch stream he said that he hopes to remain a Celtic. That one, I definitely don't think he was fronting on that one, because I think he knows too, like, this is where I belong. This is kind of the best fit for me. So, like I said, if I were him, I would just ride it out with Tatum until they force me out of there.
And let's all remember, it is hard to win a title. It's hard. So if they don't win back-to-back titles, that's not the end of the world. But let's say Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown win one more title, that would mean in the Brown-Tatum era, they won 2 titles and went to 3 finals and went to 6 conference finals. That's a legacy by itself. Like, everybody can't be Golden State and win 4 or be Kobe Shaq and three-peat or anything like that. But if they want another one, and that was their legacy, that's a hell of a legacy. They like right now, you could argue, it's not even an argument. The Brown Tatum partnership has been more successful than the Garnett Pierce partnership.
It's one of those things. And plus they're doing this too in an era where it's straight up parity. Nobody's winning back to back now. We haven't seen back to back champs since the Warriors. I feel like at the end of the day, people just kind of they underrate how hard it is to win a title.
Yeah,
because they'll be like, well, I think the guys that ruined it, ironically, are just the dynasties that they it's funny when dynasties are around, they wish other people would win it. They hate it.
Isn't that funny how that works? We hate the dynasties. And then we would go, we want somebody else to take care of the dynasty. So then you get your wish. You have parity. But because you have parity, we don't have back-to-back champs anymore.
Yeah, and it's weird now because now people are like, oh, well, how about those KD Warriors? Like, dude, shut up. You hated the KD Warriors when they were actually
everybody hated
the KD Warriors.
Right.
Say no, absolutely. But yeah, it just feels like guys, it's almost like guys like MJ, Kobe, LeBron, like those guys kind of just almost ruined undermined how hard it is to win a title. And now everyone goes like, well, they can do it. Like, well, not everybody's top, 10 basketball player to walk the planet. Like, all because the Jordan Bulls won 6 in the 90s. That doesn't mean, someone's going to, all of a sudden pull off a 6-peat now or say win 6 in a row.
We can all agree that the league is more balanced right now than before. It is. So it is harder to repeat. And I think Brad Stevens is such a smart guy. He knows that. He's not going to make a panic move and go, I'm going to trade Tatum or I'm going to trade Brown. He's smarter than that.
Hey, you know what?
You're right. You're right, John. You're 100% right. But like I said, I knew that. And I said before the season, they're going to be fine. They're going to make the playoffs. I will not lie to anyone that is watching us right now and say, I thought the Celtics were going to have the season that they had because they were better than even what I expected. But when you have that season that they had through the regular season, and then Tatum he works his way back the last 16 games of the regular season, and you have all that momentum to flatline and blow a 3-1 lead because you can't win at home, that's crazy.
No, absolutely. We know why KG and Pierce weren't as successful as Perk.
That's it. Perk is the solution to everything, right?
Kyle, that is your locker room leader. Got to respect him. That still had me dying.
You're right.
That still had me dying when he said that. When it came to Perk, when he's like, "Oh, this wouldn't happen in my locker room." Like, whose? Like, were you the locker room leader on the Pelicans or something?
You know what? I'm glad Kyle put that. The Heatles only won 2. I want you to think about that. That means that if Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown win another title, they will have done as much as the Heatles did. That's actually a real thing. I don't think they're done, and I can't predict an outcome. Do I think Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown will play in another NBA Finals? I do. I can't say whether or not they're going to win it, but I have all the confidence in the world they're going to be back in another Finals.
No, absolutely. Boston reminds me of Duke, live by the 3, die by the 3.
Man, it's so weird, though, because all throughout the regular season, they just lived. And I don't even really look, the 3-point shooting killed them. But I think what really failed them, if you go back and watch the Sixers series, was their defense was not good in late game situations. Philly got whatever they wanted. And Boston's usually a really sound defensive team, but they had a lot of breakdowns. And it started with the fact that Embiid made your defense collapse because he overwhelmed Keita. You had to help.
No, that's fair enough. Hey Mo, before we get to some more playoff talk, I got a fun trivia question for the chat, and obviously you can have a fun answer too. I saw this earlier and it blew my mind, and I wanted to bring it on to the show. Mo, who was? Ready, guys? Ready, Kyle? Ready, John? Because this is a fun one. Who was the president of the United States the last time the Washington Wizards won 50 games?
Did you say 150 games?
50, yep. Or Washington Wizards / Bullets, because, yeah, it was a long time ago.
Man, that's a good one. I have no idea. I will be guessing. I don't know. George W. Bush. Oh.
I'll say, Kyle, John, you got any fun guesses for this trivia? Because it's something that I saw and it absolutely blew my mind.
He said George Washington.
George Washington. The fact that John nailed it is actually incredible. It was Jimmy Carter.
Holy cow, that long ago?
The last time they won 50 games was when they were the Washington Bullets in the 78-79 season.
Wow. That's when they had, what was it, Wes Unseld and Elvin Hayes and all those dudes. Like, that is going way back. Man, I would have never got that.
It's crazy just how unlucky one franchise could get. Everything that could go wrong for the Wizards just happened to go wrong for the Wizards. All the way up until, like, you think you have something going after a good season from, 16-17 John Wall, and then he slips in the shower and pops his Achilles and just effectively ends his career early. Like, I genuinely had never seen anything like that until it happened to the Wizards.
Look, some of these bad franchises, yeah, I do think they have bad luck, but a lot of times they're bad because of their own decisions. I mean, just Sacramento's not bad because of bad luck. Sacramento's bad because of criminally mismanagement, like just terrible decision makings, trades and drafts, or when they draft. If you draft, what is the main thing we talk about, Brett? When you bring someone in, you have to be patient. They have no patience. You had Halliburton and De'Aaron Fox under the same roof. What are you doing? What are you doing? Basketball is here's the thing about basketball. You don't go by position, you go by the better player. You always take the best player. I would have rather had De'Aaron Fox and Halliburton together in a backcourt than bringing in Sabonis. And I like Sabonis. But the truth of the matter is, think about that backcourt. Hallie's a legit 6'7", so he could guard twos, and Fox could just guard the point. But think about what they could both do off the dribble for each other. Like, that tandem could have been so dominant, and the Kings just we need a big man because of the Kings.
Are you telling me the Wizards can't draft? Like, the team that drafted Jan Vesely at pick 5 can't draft? That still blew my mind when they picked that dude.
Kyle said they learned their lesson. They locked up Keegan Murray. Yeah.
I mean,
I don't want to bag on Keegan Murray. I think he's kind of in that Tobias Harris category. He's a good player. He is a good player, but he's not the kind of player you go, this is our centerpiece. We're going to lock him down and build around him. You don't build around role players. Keegan Murray is a role player. Or a fringe starter, whatever you want to call it, but he's not your number 1 option, your number 2 option, your number 3 option. He might be a 4, but yeah, the Sacramento, that's not bad luck. They just keep hiring terrible people who are supposed to be basketball people, and they don't know nothing about basketball.
Oh, that's fair. How about those Andre Blatche highlights, Wizards fans?
God. Andre Blatche.
Andre Blatche, Jan Vesely, just truly elite talent evaluators.
Not Andre Blatche.
But hey, at least they hit on John Wall, the consensus best player in the draft, I guess.
They did do that. We see Morant on a new team.
I don't think so.
I think
Actually,
Memphis wants to move him, but I don't think he's in high demand right now. I think he starts the season on the Grizzlies.
I think that's my problem with them too. Like, I think if obviously trade John Morant now, you're selling low, and I don't think Memphis will do that. I think they'll give him like half a season or even the full season to just kind of try to play himself back into rhythm. And as soon as he has positive value, I'm sure they will flip him. But as of right now, I don't see it because I just genuinely don't see who's running to the phone, be like, you gotta get Ja. Gotta get Ja. We got his old coach. Maybe it's the Bucks. I hope not, but
Brett, let me ask you: is John Morant a failing asset? And what I mean by that is he going to be a perennial all-star again, make 2 or 3 more all-star teams, or does it feel more like he won't? You know what I mean? Like I feel like he's closer to not being an all-star than he is being an all-star again.
that's up to him. If he wants to continue to be an all-star, I think he's got to work on that jump shot. Like, call up somebody who had a late, like, someone who had a late stage like development in their jumper, and maybe get some help. Hey, call up Jason Kidd. See
I
what
was going to
he's
say,
doing.
call J Kidd up. Yep.
Say right, like, say yeah. I feel like he'd be like the best guy to do it since he's improved from no jumper to having a reliable 3-point shot. So, but yeah, I think the biggest problem with Ja, at least this year, and why you don't see any value for him is he's a shot maker that can't make shots. Like, he's actually a lot more inefficient at the rim than a lot of people think. The dunks are loud, so people are like, he's such a good finisher. It's really cold from around the rim, but he's not an efficient jump shooter. He's a high volume scorer, but obviously he has playmaking. He's a good passer, which kind of elevates him above your basic 6-man. But at the end of the day, like, when you're on a max, teams aren't going to be like, well, he can pass. Like, yeah, but he needs to consistently get those shots to start going down again, like 2022 Ja had going. Otherwise, I think the Grizzlies are just going to be stuck with him until that contract's expired.
I feel like getting out of Memphis and going to Utah, which, by the way, we don't talk about this enough. Utah actually has a lot of talent top to bottom, and they're still developing. I feel like Jaren Jackson has set himself up to where he's going to be back in the All-Star picture. He's going to be back in the DPOY picture again. That Jazz team is loaded. We're not talking. A lot of people aren't talking about it, but those dudes are on the come up, and I think Jaren Jackson is going to be a big part of that.
Say Shams would probably just like simultaneously combust if we made that trade, because it probably means Giannis should stay. But also at the same time, realistically speaking, I don't think the Bucks would actually be interested in him, because I guess it depends. Obviously we know him and Jenkins and that offense didn't really click at the end, and there were disagreements. So I'm guessing he'll at least say that he has a good relationship with Taylor Jenkins, but I also don't think he's dying to come play for him again. So,
what are your thoughts on the Thunder versus the Lakers? Now, look, obviously there's no secret that I'm a diehard Lakers fan, but I live in reality. I look at the two teams and I thought both teams at their very best, the Thunder would still win the series. If the Lakers had access to Luka, Reeves was 100%, do I think it could be a series? Yeah, I think they could make it a series. I still would favor the Thunder to win the series. As it stands now, without J-Dub, I think the Thunder win in 5. But I'll say this. They're the kind of team that when they get on a roll, they're like the ultimate front runners. Like, if they get up on the Lakers 2-0, 2-0 is going to become 3-0. And once it's 3-0, 4-0 is right around the corner. Like, LeBron can't do everything, and he's been tremendous. But Austin Reeves can't go 3 for 18, or he can't have those kind of games. He's got to find a way to generate, even if he's not shooting well, get to the foul line, but he's got to find a way to generate offense. I actually thought the Lakers did a good job on SGA by blitzing him or sending a second defender over late in the shot clock. That's very smart. I 100% am on board with JJ Redick saying I will live with Lou Dort and Cason Wallace shooting threes. I will too. Alex Caruso, I'll live with him shooting threes too, and I love Caruso, but he's not a consistent 3-point shooter. So I think Redick's strategy defensive wise is on point. The problem is I don't know if the Lakers can generate enough offense because that Thunder's defense, they are relentless.
It feels the Lakers Thunder series just feels like an old Western movie where you have that old cowboy gunslinger coming to town for one last shootout, even though you know he's just kind of screwed. Like that's kind of what it feels like with LeBron. The thing with Austin Reeves, and this is something I worry about him if you decide to give him a massive extension going forward, his offense really takes a hit in the playoffs. The thing with guys like Austin Reeves is in the regular season, he gets a stupid good whistle. Like, he gets a hyper really good whistle for a non-star player. It's really absurd at times. Problem is, players that rely on drawing free throws, you come to the postseason and they stop calling them, and it really shows. And I know Austin Reeves isn't 100%. I know he'd play a lot better if he was healthy. But something that I've kind of noticed with Reeves and I'd be concerned about going forward, outside of the defensive issues, is offensively, is Reeves going to be a guy that can sit there and generate consistent offense for you in the playoffs when they're not calling those free throws? Because if not, maybe this offseason, before that big money extension kicks in, maybe it's time to gauge the market. See if you can flip him for another flip him for a younger talent. I wouldn't just trade him for anybody, but I think with Reeves, I think he's somebody that the Lakers should consider at least gauging the market on this summer.
It's almost like you read my mind, because I think that Austin Reeves, with the regular season that he had this year and last year, sure, he's earned a raise. But the question I have is, what type of raise? Because I don't think he's earned a max or anywhere near the max. But that doesn't mean that's not where he and his agent's head is at, right? Like, I'm sure the Lakers would like to bring Reeves back, but you bring up a great point. Is he a playoff riser, or is he one of those guys that it seems like his game is tailored for the regular season, and he doesn't know how to step up or go to another level in the postseason? Because you're making a huge decision this offseason to either give him 180 or 220 something $1 million. That kind of commitment says we think you are one of those guys. I still have questions. I think he's certainly shown you he's played himself into being an all-star caliber kind of player, but I don't think that's the same as saying, yeah, we think Austin Reeves can be the number 2 guy on a title contender, because I'm not convinced.
Absolutely. Like, it's one of those things. Like, I had questions about Denny coming into the playoffs because his game was predicated on free throws, but he was still able to create consistent offense. Even like last year with Reeves, I wasn't overly impressed with, the looks he was taking. So overall, it'll be interesting. Also, if you do pay Reeves a lot of money, you're gonna have to find a lot of defensive specialists out there, because John kind of pointed this out. Reeves' defense is almost as bad as Luka's, so you better have a bunch of 3-and-D wings on standby.
You are not wrong, John. But hey, the Lakers are supposed to have like upwards of 40 plus million or more under the cap. They're going to have cap space. My number one priority, I would be looking for those elite athletic wings. We don't have any. We talk about them a lot, but we don't have any. We need to go out and pursue some, be it through trade or whatever. Like, obviously, to me, a perfect trade partner would be the Pelicans, because they've got like 2 or 3 of those guys, and they don't know what to do with them.
Are we starting the Trey Murphy for Austin Reeves rumors?
Oh, I would consider it. I would consider it. I think the Pelicans, the way they think, they probably think Austin Reeves is better. They might give us Trey Murphy and something else.
You can somehow walk out with like the 2027 Pelicans first, and we're just like, excuse me, how did that happen?
Right. No, I do, but I think you're right. Look, your future is with Luka. The question is Reeves going to be part of that future? I want him back, but I want him back at a number that fits his talent. I don't want us to fall into, I hate to say this because we're just giving this guy credit. I don't want us to fall into that Tobias Harris void where we overpay a very good player like he's a great player.
And I guess, what's going to be tough too is obviously you have to pay Reeves, but then there's the decision now, do you pay LeBron to possibly come back for another year and have a retirement tour? And in essence, at that point,
and
you're just running it back.
Yeah. But the answer should be no. Do you want LeBron back? You should be like, sure, but we can't. He's making $50 million. We can't pay him $50 million. So you really got to look LeBron in the eye and go, of course we want you back, but we can't have you back at that number. And I would hope that he would look and go, well, I am 40, 41, 42. I shouldn't expect to make 50. You shouldn't. Yeah, that's going to be, you know what? That's crazy that you said that. They're trying to re-sign Reeves while at the same time LeBron is an out-and-out free agent in his own right. I think how this season ends, whether we put up a fight and we lose in a tough 5 or 6 game series, or we just get dominated and we lose in 4 games, I think that will go a long way in what LeBron's going to decide, because I think LeBron, I've heard people say, well, he doesn't care about championships anymore. I don't believe that. Of course he wants to compete and win titles. Why is he playing? He's not playing just to play. I think he's trying to win titles. And if he doesn't think he can do it there, he's a free agent. He has an option or the ability to make himself available to a contender.
It's that's what I was going to say. Like, of course, LeBron cares about winning championships. At this point, why else would he be playing if he didn't care about adding another championship? Like, if he wants to play basketball, he can just go run. I'm sure he can call up some of his old buddies and run some pickup if he really wants to. But
right.
Like, yeah, sure, Wade. Let's reunite the band one more time. Like, let's run some 2s or 3s or whatever. But yeah, no. Say at the end of the day, LeBron wants that title. By the way, the biggest reason I disagree that the Pelicans are brewing something, John. Their GM's an idiot.
He is.
I don't trust him to make the right move. I think they have some fun young talent. I do think obviously Fears has talent, Queen has talent.
Yes.
I would say we're both really like Trey Murphy.
Yes.
But obviously, the problems start with, is Zion going to be healthy? Is great. If he isn't, then what are we doing? Like we just saw with Dumars come in and make a stupid trade right off the bat to acquire Queen, trading next year's first. And I'm like, dude, at that point, just literally draft Queen at 7 and keep it moving.
Yeah, that right there did not give me a lot of confidence in the Joe Dumars regime going forward.
Get Kyrie for 1 to 2 years and then go after Butler. Oh, there we go. Bron and Kyrie one more time.
Where at, though, one more time? Because Kyrie's on Dallas. Where are they going to play together, in Cleveland?
Hey, you know what? We'll just send LeBron to Dallas. And then Nico can sit there in a dark corner saying this is all part of his master plan.
Right.
Get ready for the
look, I said that about the Mavs too, by the way, that it doesn't make sense to me that you would get rid of Anthony Davis and he's like 33, I think, but you're going to keep Kyrie Irving, who's 34, coming off a major injury. I don't think Kyrie's part of the Mavs' future either. Cooper Flagg's 19 years old. Him and Kyrie they're not gonna go through any wars together. Like, there's no point in that. The smart move would be to move on from Kyrie because he's not part of your future and get whatever you can get for him.
I'll say no. I think they will eventually. It feels like it's just tough to gauge its value last year because of the injury. I feel like once he's healthy and balling again, they'll end up moving on from him. It just feels like the market's off because I'm sure they want a decent haul, but you're not getting a decent haul for ACL Kyrie until people know what post ACL injury Kyrie looks like.
Right. That's fair.
I would say, do we think Nico's even allowed in the Dallas, at the Maverick Stadium anymore? Or will the fans just chase him off immediately if they saw him?
I think security has his picture up on a bulletin board. He's not allowed in the building.
At this point, it's not even that he can't go. It's just the fans hate him that much. That
Yes, facts.
It's say that's what I'm saying. Trade Reeves for Kyrie. That's what we're doing. Okay.
Look, do I think Kyrie's better than Reeves? Of course he is. But I don't know what like Brett just said, I don't know what Kyrie coming off an ACL is going to look like, because if he can't be ultra quick and cross people over and use his quickness with his handle, then that's not Kyrie Irving anymore.
Well, by the way, Mo, it happened. Pistons are officially up 2-0.
Yeah, that series is over. So everybody that's listening, you can disagree with me in the chat, and I respect that. But I'm telling you, the mental makeup of that Cleveland Cavaliers team, they don't have the mental makeup to come back from this. They don't. There's a certain mental toughness. It ain't there. It's not in Mitchell. And I'm a fan. I'm telling you players I'm fans of. I'm a fan of Donovan Mitchell, but he's not that dude like that. Evan Mobley, nope. Allen, nope. I'm not even touching Harden because his playoff resume is what it is. Cleveland's done.
I'd say James Harden right now on the series is shooting 9 of 28 from the field. So he's got to, if they want to have a chance, it's got to start there. He's just got to work on that efficiency.
I feel like James Harden is playing shook. I feel like he's playing shook. He looks scared. Pistons players shoving him, talking trash to him, and maybe that's a strategy, and they're trying to punk him. Seems to be working. This series is over, and so now I'm thinking about who the Pistons going to play in the conference finals. If I had to guess, I think it's going to be the Knicks, because I think the Knicks are the better team. But we'll see. That's going to be an interesting matchup because obviously through the regular season, the Pistons beat the brakes off the Knicks. And granted, postseason's completely different, but when one team has a mental edge over another team, that does kind of matter. So we'll see. I know that's me getting ahead of myself, but I don't feel like I'm getting ahead of myself in terms of Detroit. I'm 99.999% confident that this series is over.
Saying if that's the case, the Pistons are probably just going to the finals. It's funny, they were a team I stated before I had concerns about in the playoff setting, but like you mentioned earlier, Tobias just stepped up in such a way for them, and they haven't been a great scoring team, but they've scored enough. They've been active, a lot of turnovers forced. That's been one of the biggest issues in this Cavs series so far is Pistons keep turning them over every 2 possessions and getting easy runouts. But I think against a team like the Knicks, that's just a nightmare matchup. Poor Jalen Brunson's going to have to sit there trying to create space against a Sewer Thompson. Like that sounds like a disaster waiting to happen.
The Pistons aren't a great offensive team. We agree on that. But they're so physical and they're so good defensively. They make you play at their pace. They make you play their game. They want games to be mucked up. I know they complain about foul calls, but they play a physical brand of basketball. There's going to be fouls called. And they impose their will on you. I had no clue that they had a 20-point per game scorer on their roster all along. He just been sitting there dormant. Now suddenly no one can guard Tobias Harris. And if he's going to be able to continue doing that throughout the postseason, I'm with you. If he's going to play the way he's played to this point, yes. I'm sorry, Knicks fans. I'm sorry to say this, Knicks fans, but if Tobias Harris is going to continue like this, the Pistons are going to the finals. They are. I said they had to have a second scorer to help Cade. Well, they got one. and they're okay with Jalen Duren getting those low double doubles. They're okay with Duren going 14 and 15 or 12 and 15 because Tobias Harris is getting 23 points or 24 points. Like, and then you got Jenkins coming off the bench and he's giving you 10 to 12 points. Like, they're finding ways to generate offense to go with that dominant defense. I don't want to get ahead of myself. I just don't think I don't mind being wrong. I thought the Pistons couldn't get to the finals because I thought their offense was going to ultimately hamper them. And they found a workaround because Tobias Harris decided, I'm going to be the second best player on this roster. And he just played outstanding basketball. If this is who he's going to be, even if this is just a one-off, it's an amazing one-off.
I will say that if I'm the Pistons and I do make the finals, there's one team I really do not want to see, and that's San Antonio Spurs. I think that is just an absolute nightmare for the Detroit Pistons. If there's one team that they really can't be that physical with, well, they can be physical with the Spurs, but the problem is Spurs have guys to fight back with. Like, Castle will embrace the physicality. You can be physical with a Wemby, but he's just going to shoot right over the top of you. So
Castle's going to embrace it. Keldon Johnson will embrace it. Like, they've got their own dogs. Dylan Harper's underrated in how tough he is.
I think the only guy that might struggle more than usual with it is, like, the guy that probably struggle the most with is Fox, since he has a more speed finesse game, but he's been dealing with physical defenses for years. So overall, I feel like if the Pistons do go all the way, which is looking actually more and more likely as these series progresses, man, the Spurs would probably be just an absolute worst matchup for them. They better really hope the Lakers get it in. Pistons Lakers part 2.
You know what? We probably would lose that series, but I want to say something. If it was Pistons or Lakers, for whatever weird reason, sports does this every now and then, I would give LeBron a puncher's chance to win that series because he would be walking into that series, and it really would come down to who could control the game better, him or Cade. It really would come down to that. They're kind of working with similar, I guess, weaponry because the Lakers don't have a ton of firepower outside, without Luka. And the Pistons don't either, but they found a way to generate offense with their great defense. The Lakers don't play defense on the Pistons level, so they can't generate offense with their defense. They would just need LeBron to orchestrate the perfect offense, to walk the ball up the court, control the pace, find the mismatch, and then just attack it. That sounds easier said than done because I feel like when you watch Detroit play, you go, well, who on their team's not a good defender? Because Duncan Robinson is supposed to be the weakest link, and he's actually playing good team defense. He's actually a really good team defender. Detroit is a handful for anybody with how physical they are. But I agree with you. The Spurs would not be the matchup. Like, I think Detroit, if they want to win it all, they would rather play the Thunder than the Spurs.
Same, because no, absolutely. Granted though, to be fair, Mo, I would be terrified to see LeBron in a final series if he didn't make it. Because what do you mean without Luka, you were still able to knock off the Thunder and then still go through San Antonio? Like, if he went supernova enough to do that, at that point, we're looking at like him going full like 2017 LeBron James, and I don't want to touch that guy with a 10-foot pole in a final series.
If that guy's showing up, and now we're talking about the Lakers suddenly being a title contender. Like, that's crazy. Look, I don't want to get ahead of myself. I'm not doing that. I think the West is clearly wide open. I think, to me, Oklahoma City and San Antonio are on a collision course, which, by the way, most of us fans wanted that collision course. I think that will happen. And I give the Spurs a slight edge only because I feel like Wemby's the cheat code, so I'm going to give them the edge because a lot of people will say, well, Wemby and Chet match up, and all Chet has to do is cancel out Wemby, and then I got to respond and go, you're making it seem like Chet and Wemby are equals. They're not equals. They're not on the same footing. Chet's really good. Wemby's already one of the 5 best players in basketball. Chet's nowhere near in that conversation. Like I think OKC will tell you publicly we want the Spurs. But if they're honest, they wouldn't mind seeing Minnesota upset the Spurs.
It's one of those things, too, that if you bring up Chet, my response is going to be, because you brought up mentality earlier. Every time Wemby plays Chet, he looks like Chet just robbed him. And he just absolutely just gets like angry and goes next level on Chet every time. I don't know if it's because of all the comps that people always do, and he just has to go, this guy isn't better than me. He's not on my level. Like, I don't know what it is mentally, but every time he sees Chet, it's like a shark seeing blood in the water. He just all of a sudden gets aggressive and goes nuts. It's always so much fun to watch that matchup.
He gives it to him. Wemby looked forward to playing Chet because I think he feels like every time he plays him, he has to remind people we're not the same. We're not equals. One of us is an MVP candidate, and the other guy is the 3rd best player on his team. You feel me?
Yeah, it's crazy how that goes. Let's see. We're almost at the end of the first. Thunder are up 10, 26-16.
We're going to walk them down in a second. We're fine.
There we go. Rui Hachimura heater. Let's go.
Let's go, Rui.
Rui is actually shout out to Rui, man. He's one of the weirdest postseason risers I've ever seen, I think. By the way, breaking news, PJ Tucker just announced his retirement.
He wasn't already retired?
Nah. So apparently
okay.
Apparently PJ's officially done, so Tibbs can't call him up. Well, I guess Tibbs is probably retired too. I guess you can still call him up. Say, yeah, and by the way, I love how JB and Tatum get all the talk about, hey, we got to split them up when there are duos that accomplish much less that we're not even thinking about splitting up.
Fair.
Like,
that's fair.
It's always so interesting me to pick and choose as to who we're splitting up or not, because obviously I've seen Jaylen Brown and Tatum, we should split this up, but I haven't seen any talks this year about Jokic and Jamal Murray. We need to split them up after another rough postseason from Jamal Murray since that 2023 ring.
Yeah, I'm kind of glad you brought that up. And that's why I laugh when people go, they need to move either Jaylen Brown or Tatum. And I'll ask the question, but I know for myself, I'm like, of course you keep them together. Why you keep them together? It's hard to win a title, but when you have that in-house and they develop under you, you keep that together. Murray and Joker have had less overall success than Brown and Tatum, and it seems like that title is a long time ago because they've had a lot of shortcomings in the postseason since then. And Jamal Murray used to be like playoff Jamal Murray, but the last couple of playoff runs, he ain't been that great. At what point do the Nuggets go, it might be time to move on from Jamal Murray?
No, absolutely. So it'll be interesting. And like it's same with the Cavs too. Like Mitchell, Allen, Mobley, they talk about, they just got continuity. I'm like, well, where is that got them? Like, it's one thing if continuity, it's like, okay, we made the wild card. Okay, we made the first round. Oh, look, we made the second round this year if there's progress. But that's completely almost feeling like it's stalled out over there. And yet there's still more talks about, trade Brown and Tatum, even though like Cleveland hasn't won anything since 2016. Like I said, it's just weird how people pick and choose who they want to see moved and, who they want to see go. Like, I could see an Evan Mobley trade eventually happening if they want to upgrade to a superstar, but I would keep Mobley. But obviously we're looking at Mitchell and Harden for trade possibilities.
What do you do if you're Cleveland? Because when you made the Harden for Darius Garland trade, that was your Hail Mary move. You traded Garland, who's a full decade younger than James Harden, because you didn't think the Mitchell-Garland pairing could go further than they've gone. And now in year one with 37-year-old James Harden, if you guys get bounced in the second round, what do you do with that? Like, how do you build from that if you have a disappointing second round finish? And remember, you can't just let Harden go. You kind of got to bring him back because you already committed to the trade. You got rid of Garland. You're stuck with Harden. And look, he's not playing well, but Harden's not the reason they're losing the series. Like, this is definitely a team effort. Evan Mobley hadn't been great. Jared Allen hadn't been great. Donovan Mitchell has been up and down, and James Harden has just been down. If Cleveland loses, like I think they will, what do you do with that going forward? Because they don't have a lot of draft capital. They don't have any cap space. Like, what is the plan next year or this offseason for Cleveland if they lose? Because I don't see a lot of avenues for them. Like, you don't want to trade Evan Mobley. He's young, up and coming. But I don't know what Evan Mobley's ceiling is. I believe his ceiling, he's kind of close to it now. I think he's a really good player. I think he's an all-star player. He's not a franchise player. He will never be a franchise player. I don't know what you do with that. They what they want from Mobley, I don't think he can give them. I think they eventually want him to be their best player. That will never happen. The only way he's their best player is if they get rid of Mitchell and Harden and he's their best player. They're not going to make the playoffs, but he'll be their best player. Like, that's the only way he's their best player. I just think Cleveland's future is more in doubt than most people realize.
It would also just help if I completely agree with that, because it's at the end of the day, when it comes to the playoffs, the pressure is just too much for Evan Mobley to be a number one option. He's shown that, like, every year when it comes to postseason time for Mobley, he goes from Evan Mobley to Coutinho Mobley in like 3 seconds or less. And it's unfortunate, but the reality is I think he can be a key piece for a championship team, but he just can't be the guy. So you're just kind of have to keep circling, lead guys around him until you find the right combination, I guess.
Yeah, agreed.
Knowing the Cavs they'll just be like, continuity. Harden was only here half a year. Let's run it back again. Okay.
Oh no!
I wouldn't even wish that on Cleveland.
John is wilding now.
There you go. He can go to that locker room and be like, "Yeah, I played too. I got stats too." Still the funniest story from that whole article. Hey, but you know what? Before we get up on audio, Mo, hey, your Lakers are fighting 27-23. So
I told you,
game of runs.
I told you we're gonna run them down. If this is gonna be any kind of series, we got to win tonight somehow, some way.
No, that's fair enough. But yeah, hey, hour-long playoff talk, Mo. That's all I had for us today. Anything you want to add before we get out of here?
Oh, no, completely enjoyed it. Thank you, Kyle, coming through, John, and everybody else that came through and joined us Thursday night at AND1 talking playoff hoops. Thank you guys so much. Make sure you guys join us next Thursday for another episode of AND1.
Absolutely. We'll have plenty for you next Thursday. Brennan scored 35 to even be close. So, yeah, let's say he's going to have to go nuts. Yeah, let's say, and plus, by the time next week start, Mo, we'll be like almost a full week into the WNBA season. We can talk about some WNBA ball.
That's going to be fun.
I'll have to pull up some more puppy prospects for next week. It's going to be a fun week, that's for sure. But hey, everybody, thank you for tuning in. If you want more AND1 basketball talk, you can check out the AND1 Facebook page. I'm running an AND1 Discord server, and if you're into Discord, so like I said, plenty of avenues to keep up the conversation elsewhere. But that being said, We thank you guys for tuning in, and we hope you enjoy the rest of your night.